This is part 7 of videos dedicated to Microsoft Access database, and in this part we're going to finish our work that we're doing with the Access forms. So this is where we finished, I believe, our previous video number 6. We created the form. Just a reminder, we created the form in order to navigate between the clients. So I can use the buttons at the bottom of the window, switch between the clients back and forth, and for each client this form will show me what kind of work was performed for that specific selected client and who did the work. So it will show me employee ID, when the work was done, that would be a date, and also how many hours that specific employee on that date worked. I can right now actually use this form in order to make new entries. For example, let me see how many employees I have. I have 2 right now, John and Jane. Okay, so it looks like on the September the 12th, 2016, I sent both John and Jane to work on that client. So suppose I did the same thing today. So I sent John, for example, today. So I'm going to go to the date picker and select October the 17th, that's today, and I'm going to type here something. Something. And suppose that John on that day today did something for 4 hours. So when I click on the next line, this information was saved in the table work completed, and I can open the table work completed, and there it is. So client number 1, employee number 1, that would be John, today's date, doing something for 4 hours. So this form actually does work. Well, I'm going to delete that line because I don't really need that. How do I delete the line? It's very easy. I can highlight the line, clicking on this row selector, and then go to the on the home tab, go to the button delete. I say delete record, and it's gone. Okay, what I don't like about this form right now, well, a couple of things. Number 1, it looks not so cool, cosmetically speaking. For example, all these underlines, all this white space that I'm not using. Some fields are aligned on the right, some fields are aligned on the left. This field is just too big, I can see that. But most of all, I don't like the fact that I need to remember the employee ID. So I would like to be able to pick an employee from some sort of the selection tool by the name. I don't want to remember all of my employee IDs. It's easy to do when you have 2 employees, but when you have 15 or 50 or 100 employees, that becomes a little bit more challenging. So let's switch to the design view and let's start working on this subform, which contains the details of the work completed. Well, number 1, I'm going to select client ID and essentially get rid of that, because I don't need client ID. It's pretty clear which client I'm working with when I make my selection on the main form. Alright, so employee ID, I'm going to select both label and the text box and make it bigger. Also, in the work date, I'm going to get rid of the underscore only in the label. I'm not going to touch the text box in the detail section. Work description, again, I'm going to get rid of the underscore in the label, but I'm not going to do anything with my text box. Hours worked, you can see that hours work label is right justified and the text box is left justified. So that's kind of not cool. I'm going to get rid of the underscore in the label, and also I will make all the labels to be left justified. How do I do that? I select all the labels in the form header. Well, this is actually subform header, and go on the home tab, make it align left. Also, I would like to show these text boxes now a little bit better. So right now they're kind of gray, using gray font. So I'm going to make it bold and I'm going to make it black. Also, what I will do is move all the labels to the top of the form header, just like that. You can drag it with the mouse, or you can actually, once I selected the labels, I can move them by pressing the arrow key. So this is what happens when I press the down key. This is what happens when I press the up key. And of course, right and left work the same way. Okay, now after that, what I can do is make this section form header a little bit smaller. And also in the detail section, I'm going to click on the work description, make it a little smaller, just like that. And also what I want to do is select all the text boxes in the detail section and make them align to the left. Now that doesn't really change anything because apparently they were aligned to begin with. So if I switch to the form view, this is what I see. Now it looks a little bit better, but I still use kind of excessive white space right here. Okay, so let's go back to the design view. Oh, by the way, something that I wanted to point out: we always use form view and the design view, but there is also layout view. What does that do? So let's go click on the layout view, and you can see that layout view is kind of it's the view in between form view and the design view. So it combines characteristics of both of them. So in the design view, in the layout view, I still can see my data, right? When I was in the design view, data was not showing for me, okay? So if I switch to the layout view, I can see my data, but at the same time, I can modify or edit my controls. I can resize them, I can click on them, change the font and everything. So this view, layout view, is kind of middle ground between the form view and the design view. It does show you the data, but it also allows you to modify your controls, text boxes, labels, and everything else, as if you are in the design view. Okay, so let's switch to the design view. Yes, I want to save changes. Okay, and it looks like I actually did modify the detail section a little bit. So I want to give it a little bit more space. Well, in fact, you know what? Let's make it a little bit bigger, and why exactly you will see in just 1 second. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of the employee ID and replace it with some other utility, some sort of the list where I can pick my employees, right? Oops, I switched to my Skype apparently. Okay, so I'm going to switch to the design view, and I will replace this label and this text box with something that I did not use before, and that something is called combo box. So let's do that. I'm going to select both label and the text box, employee ID, because I don't need employee ID, I want employees' names. And I'm going to hit the delete button, erase my employee ID. After that, I will click on the combo box and just place it where the employee ID used to be. Just like that. And when I release the button, when I release the mouse, I will see combo box wizard. So this window will guide me through the steps. So I hope that you're paying attention and following exactly what I'm doing in this video, because there are a couple of important steps that you don't want to miss. Step number 1, it gives me an option what to show in the combo box. And as you can see, I have options to populate the combo box with values from another table or query, so that's 1. Or I can type the values myself, that's 2. And the third option, find the record. We're not going to really use that option, so let's concentrate on these 2. What I want this combo box to show is the listing of my employees, specifically their names. So I don't want to type the names of the employees, I want it to get from the table where I keep the employees, and that would be employees table, right? So therefore I'm going to pick on option number 1. I want the combo box to get the values from another table. Click next, and next basically the step says, well, which table do you want? Employees, obviously. Click next, and it shows me all fields in the table employees. Well, I want to populate names, right? So therefore I'm going to pick first name and last name and leave everything else out. Next, I can sort the records that I'm getting out of the employees table. That step is optional, but let's say I want to order them by last name in the descending order or ascending order. Okay, next. Then it says, well, here is how your list is going to look like when you click on the combo box. It will have Jane Doe and John Smith. Now, take a look at this checkbox. Checkbox basically says you can hide the column for the primary key, or you can not hide it or display it, right? So in other words, even though I did not pick employee ID, the primary key in the table employees, when I was selecting the names of the columns to display, Combo doesn't really care. It says, well, whatever selection you do, I'm going to need the ID of the record, the employee ID of the record that you are selecting, because computers, databases work with primary and secondary keys. They don't really care about anything else, such as first name, last name, etc. So we humans, we use last name and first name to make a selection, but in actuality, the computer program, such as Microsoft Access, all it really needs is the ID of the record that we're selecting. Okay, I don't want really to see the ID because it has no meaning for me, so therefore I'm going to hide it. But remember, ID is always there. When I pick an employee from the combo box, employee name, I'm actually selecting an ID and the program knows about that. So click next, and this is a very important step that oftentimes is missed by students. Two options, right? Once the name was selected from list, what to do with this? Option number one says, remember the value for the later use. That's the other way to say, don't do anything. If we get to the point where we need to use the selection that you made in this combo box, we'll do that later. We decide what to do exactly. Well, I'm going to use the second option, store the value in the field. So what happens in this section, every time when I pick up an employee name from the combo box, I want the information to be recorded that that employee with this specific ID did the work. So where exactly do I want to store the ID of the selected record? Well, it says here are all the fields from the table were completed. Well, obviously, since I'm picking up employee and Combo knows what ID I've picked, it must be saved in the column employee underscore ID in the table were completed. So I'm going to say select an employee, after that save its identification number into the column employee underscore ID. Next, and that's the last step, how would you like to label your combo? In other words, what do you want to be showing as the label that comes by default with a combo? Well, how about that? I'm going to show the label, select an employee. And then I'm going to click finish. And apparently it's all done. Now let's kind of see how it works. If I switch to the form view, this is what I see. I don't see IDs anymore. Excuse me. Instead of IDs, I see names. But weirdly enough, it's only first names. John, Jane. Now, when I click on this combo box, it shows me both names. So I have two so far, so it shows me both names. Jane Doe and John Smith. But by default, it doesn't give me the last name. It gives me only first name. That's a little weird, but we'll fix it in just 1 minute. So let's switch back to the design view. A couple of things actually I wanted to point out. Number one is you can see that there is a weird couple of letters sticking to the left from my combo box. It says "se." Well, apparently it's the first couple of letters from select an employee, the label that I have created. So if I switch to the design view, and you can see the same thing in the design view, right? So I can, this is the label. I have selected the label. Now I want the label to be positioned in the form header, obviously, right? But here is the problem. If I drag the label to the form header and drop it, the combo box comes with it. So these two kind of are inseparable. Well, what I found works the best way is if you select the label, and after that right click, cut the label out, and then click into the form header and paste it over there. Okay, so this way the label and combo box are kind of disconnected from each other, and I can move and I can paste the label anywhere I want. So I'm going to adjust slightly. Oops, that's too much. Okay, now my label looks a little bit different now, right? The font is different, the color is different, so I'm going to take this label and apply the same formatting as I have over here to this label. So how do I do that? go to the Home tab and click the Format Painter, and after that just apply the format to the label. Okay, so it looks like I can now squeeze the section detail a little bit more. And if I switch to the form view, now this is what I see. Almost perfect. The only thing that I don't like is the fact that it's only showing my employee first names. What I wanted to show both employees' first name and the last name. Well, that requires a little bit of modification. So let's switch to the design view. And obviously I need to work with combo box, correct? So I'm going to highlight the combo box, make it active, and then I'm going to click on the property list button on the design tab. So property sheet, go ahead and show list of properties. Now this time around what I'm going to do is click on the tab data. It says that I have selected combo box, and for internal purposes this combo box is named combo 10. So let's switch to the tab data. Now if you remember just a couple of minutes ago, what we did is we went through the series of steps when we were selecting columns to show in the combo box, right? We know that combo box does show employee first name, employee last name, and by default it carries with it internally, invisible to us, employee ID. And you can see it right here actually. So this is an SQL query that tells combo box where to get the data. So you can see that the data is getting extracted from table employees, and what exactly is being extracted is employee's ID, and employee first name, and employee last name. Now here's what I'm going to do in order to show both first name and the last name together in one column. You can see there is a comma between employees.first name and employees.last name. I'm going to erase the comma, and instead of that I'm going to type the following statement. Employees.first name, and I'm going to type ampersand, and then after that quotation mark, put a space, close quotation mark, another space, and I'm going to put another ampersand. Okay, so what does that do? Essentially what it does is we do extract employee first name and employee last name, but this operation essentially sticks several strings together. So as the result of this operation, my first name is going to be combined with an empty string. Well, it's not empty string, technically speaking, it's a string that consists of a space, okay? And after that, the result is going to be also combined with the employee last name. So by doing this, I'm creating continuous string of characters. First part contains employee last name, then there is a space, and then employee last name. So first name, space, and the last name. So I did a little bit of modification of my SQL query that runs behind the scenes and attached basically to my combo box. Well, I'm going to make the property list smaller, and now let's save it. Let's save it, and let's switch to the form view. Let's see how the form actually works. And what I see is both first name and the last name. I can navigate between the clients. So right now I'm looking at client number 1. If I go to the client number 2, it picks the next client, and it also shows me couple of records that relate to this client. So apparently to the client number 2 I sent Jane Doe on September the 12th, and I sent John Smith on October the 17th. Well, let's see if it works actually. So what if I create another record? So suppose, for example, today I send John Smith again. So I click into the new empty line, pick John Smith. From the work date, I'm going to pick today's date, that is October the 17th, and I'm going to type here something. He did something, work description, and he did that something for, let's say, 5 hours. Now I click into the next line, which means that the previous line probably was saved already. So I have to look in the work completed. And that would be the line that identifies my John Smith employee number 1, I believe, with client number 2. XYZ Incorporated is client number 2. So let's go ahead and open up work completed, and there it is. Here's my employee number 1, John Smith, which I picked from the combo box, and worked for client number 2 on October the 17th. He did something for 5 hours. So now what we have is completely working form, and it's more user-friendly because I don't have to remember employee IDs. I can just pick their names from this combo box and enter the details of work that they did, and it's all going to be saved. All right, so I'm going to save the form. Whoops. Cancel that. I'm going to stop the video right here, and the next video that I'm going to post will be explaining how to write SQL queries using Microsoft Access.